Section 1 of A Guidebook of Art, Architecture, and Historic Interests in Pennsylvania, edited by Margaretta Archambault. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Tatiana Chichilla. Philadelphia Historic Firsts. The first parks in North America provided for the pleasure of the people were dedicated by William Penn at the settlement of Philadelphia in 1682. They were the northeastern, southeastern, northwestern, southwestern, and center squares, now known respectively as Franklin, Washington, Logan, Rittenhouse, and Penn Squares. In a letter dated 1683, William Penn alludes to the glass house of the Free Society of Traders. Soon after this, a glass house was erected at Frankfort by English friends. The first almanac printed in America was Calendarium Pennsylvaniense, or America's Messenger, being an almanac for the year of grace 1686. It was edited by Samuel Atkins and published by William Bradford 1685. The first paper mill in America was built by William Rittenhouse on the banks of the Wissahickon Creek in the year 1690. A new primer or methodical direction to attain the true spelling, reading, and writing of English. This was the first American school textbook. Though it was published in New York in 1698, its author was Francis Daniel Pastorius, founder of Germantown. The first presbytery of the Presbyterian Church in the United States was formed in Philadelphia in 1705. It was composed of 7 ministers and included Philadelphia, Maryland, Delaware, and the eastern shore of Virginia. The first botanical garden in America was started in 1705 by Dr. Christopher Witt at the southeast corner of Germantown Avenue and High Street. John Bartram began his famous gardens in 1728 at Gray's Ferry on the Schuylkill River. The first Mennonite church in America was erected in Germantown at Germantown Avenue and Herman Street, the first service being held therein May 23, 1708. The first institution in America for the care of the poor was the Friends' Almshouse, established in Philadelphia in 1713. First municipal care of the poor in the United States was begun by the city of Philadelphia in a rented building, September 1, 1713. The first building was erected in 1731. The first Tunker Church in America was founded in Germantown, December 25, 1723, at Germantown Avenue and Upsall Street. The first love feast celebrated in this country was observed by them the same evening. The first association for the benefit of workers, or labor organization, in America was the Carpenters' Company, established in Philadelphia, 1724. The first Mariners' Quadrant, invented by Thomas Godfrey, a glazier of 19th Street and Church Lane, Germantown, was made in 1730, first used in Delaware Bay by Joshua Fisher. In 1727, a literary society was formed here by Franklin and 11 associates. This was the famous Junto, and from it originated the Library Company of Philadelphia, the first library of a public nature in America. The instrument of association was dated July 1, 1731, and the charter granted by the proprietary May 3, 1742. The first club in America organized as a dining and fishing club was the Colony in Schuylkill, 1732. The name was afterwards changed to the State in Schuylkill. The first German newspaper in America was Die Philadelphische Zeitung, published by Benjamin Franklin, May 6, 1732. There were but 2 numbers issued. The first type made in America was made by Christopher Saar, the Germantown printer, in 1735. The first volunteer fire company in America, the Union Fire Company, was founded by Franklin and 4 associates, December 7, 1736. It lasted for 84 years. February 13, 1741. The American Magazine, or a monthly view of the political state of the British colonies, was published by Andrew Bradford. This was the first magazine published in America. 3 days later, February 16, 1741, Franklin issued the General Magazine and Historical Chronicle for all the British plantations in America. The first German Bible printed in America was by Christopher Saar in Germantown, 1743. Saar also published the New Testament in German. He issued 7 editions in the years 1745, 1747, 1748, 1751. The first institution in America devoted to science and learning was the American Philosophical Society, organized in 1743. By Articles of Agreement dated January 2, 1769, there took place a union between this society and the American Society for Promoting and Propagating Useful Knowledge, held at Philadelphia, the latter an outgrowth of the famous Junto, established by Franklin and his associates in 1727. From the date of union until the present time, but one society has existed, known as the American Philosophical Society. The first lightning rod was placed upon the home of its inventor, Benjamin Franklin, at 141, now 325, Market Street, in 1749. In December 1749, certain Scotchmen living in Philadelphia organized the St. Andrew's Society at Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. The object of the society was the relief of poor and distressed Scotsmen. It was the first organization of the kind in this country. The first hospital in America was the Pennsylvania Hospital, chartered by Assembly of Pennsylvania, May 11, 1751. The first American work on botany was by John Bartram and was published in 1751. Its title was Observations on the Inhabitants, Climate, Soil, Diverse Productions, Animals, etc., made in his travels from Pennsylvania to Onondaga, Oswego, and the Lake Ontario. The first fire insurance company in America was the Philadelphia Contribution Ship for the insurance of houses from loss by fire. It was organized April 13, 1752, and 12 directors chosen at that time, who held their first meeting May 11, 1752. At this meeting was adopted the well-known seal which has given the company its nickname of Hand in Hand. The first expedition fitted out in the United States for Arctic exploration and the discovery of a Northwest Passage sailed from Philadelphia on the schooner Argo, Captain Charles Swain, March 8, 1753. The first cartoon published in America was the famous snake divided into 8 parts, representing the colonies: New England, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina, and bore the motto, Join or Die. It was published by Benjamin Franklin in the Pennsylvania Gazette, May 9, 1754, and was called forth by the massacres of colonists in the French and Indian Wars. The first life insurance company in this country was the Presbyterian Ministers' Fund of Philadelphia, founded in 1759. The first mention of Shakespeare, discovered to date, April 1916, in any American work occurs in Science, a Poem, by Francis Hopkinson, published by William Dunlap in Philadelphia, 1762. The first night school in America was opened in the Germantown Academy, October 14, 1762. The sessions were from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., each scholar to find his own candle, and pay 2 shillings 6 pence for firewood. The compensation was 10 shillings per quarter. The first observatory erected in this America was on South Street near Front, and was built for Mason and Dixon in 1763. The first religious magazine in America was the Geistlich's Magazine, published by Christopher Sauer in 1764. The first medical school in America was begun by the University of Pennsylvania, May 3, 1765. The first medical commencement was held June 21, 1768, where 10 students were given degrees. Captains of Ships Charitable Club was instituted July 4, 1765, and incorporated February 4, 1770, as the Society for the Relief of Poor and Distressed Masters of Ships, their Widows, and Children. This was the first society of its kind organized in America. The first permanent theater in America was the Southwark Theater, erected at South and Lithgow Streets, Philadelphia. It was opened by David Douglas, November 21, 1766. The first American play was The Prince of Parthia by Thomas Godfrey, Jr., a young Philadelphia poet and the son of the inventor of the Mariner's Quadrant. It was produced at the Southwark Theater, April 23, 1767. The first American publication on pedagogy was A Simple and Thoroughly Prepared School Management by Christopher Dock, the pious schoolmaster of Skippack. It was published in Germantown by Christopher Saar, 1770. The Pennsylvania Packet and the General Advertiser was first issued October 28, 1771. This was a weekly publication printed by John Dunlap. In 1784, Dunlap had taken as his partner David C. Claypool, and on Tuesday, September 21, 1784, they issued the Pennsylvania Packet and Daily Advertiser. This was the first daily newspaper published in America. The first act of protest against the importation of tea, on account of the obnoxious tax, occurred in Philadelphia, not Boston, in 1773. An immense meeting was held in the State House Yard October 16, 1773. Under date of November 27, 1773, a broadside was issued warning against an attempt to land any of the objectionable article. On Christmas Day, the ship Polly, Captain Ayres, reached Chester. Captain Ayres was brought to Philadelphia and informed of the situation. On December 27th, he started on his return trip to England, taking his cargo of tea with him. The people of Boston held their tea party December 16, 1773, and cast the tea into the harbor, thus entailing a heavy loss upon the innocent merchants. The Garden of the Soul, or a manual of spiritual exercises and instructions for Christians who, living in the world, aspire to devotion. London, printed. Philadelphia, reprinted, by Joseph Cruikshank on Market Street, between 2nd and 3rd Streets, 1774. This was the first Roman Catholic prayer book printed in the English in America. The Society for Promoting the Abolition of Slavery was founded in Philadelphia in 1774. It was the first society in the country formed for this purpose. It reorganized February 10, 1784, as the Pennsylvania Society for Promoting the Abolition of Slavery and for the Relief of Free Negroes Unlawfully Held in Bondage, and for Improving the Condition of the African Race. The earliest mention of the manufacture of carpets in this country is that of William Calverley of Locksley's Court, date supposed to be 1774. The first joint stock company formed for the manufacture of cotton was the United Company of Philadelphia for Promoting American Manufactures. The first general meeting was held February 22, 1775, and Dr. Benjamin Rush was elected president. This is believed to be the first joint stock company for any kind of manufactures in this country. The first piano made in the United States was in 1776 by John Barrett Jr., Joyner, on 3rd Street below Brown. The first United States flag is believed to have been made in Philadelphia in 1777. In 1780 was the first Abolition Act of America, providing slavery be abolished in Pennsylvania. July 17, 1780, the Pennsylvania Bank opened for business. This was the first bank in the United States and existed until 1784. The president, directors, and company of the Bank of North America was chartered by the Continental Congress, December 31, 1781. This bank is still in existence and is the only bank in the United States operating under the National Banking Act, which is not required to carry the word national in its official title. The first Bible in English produced by an American press was the work of Robert Aitken, the Philadelphia printer, in 1782. It was issued in 2 volumes. On the back of the title page of the first volume of the copy in the British Museum is this note in the handwriting of Robert Aitken. The first copy of the first edition of the Bible ever printed in America in the English language is presented to Ebenezer Hazard, Esquire, by the editor. The Philadelphia Society for Promoting Agriculture, formed in 1785 and incorporated in February 1809, was the first agricultural organization in this country. Its membership was limited to farmers only. The first General Convention of the Protestant Episcopal Church in the United States was held in Christ Church, Philadelphia, September 27 to October 7, 1785. There were present delegates from 7 states, and it was at this convention that the church was organized in America, and the changes made in the prayer book necessary for its use in the new nation. Reverend William White, D.D., was chosen president of the convention. The first free dispensary in the United States devoted to the relief of the sick and suffering was the Philadelphia Dispensary, founded January 1786. It opened in Strawberry Alley, April 12, 1786. It is still in existence and is located at 127 South 5th Street. First steamboat in the world was built by John Fitch, a Philadelphian. The boat was successfully operated on the Delaware River, July 26, 1786. Another boat, 80 feet long, was built, and on October 12, 1788, successfully made the trip from Philadelphia to Burlington, carrying 30 passengers. The first College of Physicians in America was formed in Philadelphia, January 2, 1787. The first Roman Catholic Church for Germans was organized in Philadelphia in 1787. Ground for a building was purchased at the northwest corner of 6th and Spruce Streets. Articles of incorporation were granted October 4, 1788, under the title of The Trustees of the German Religious Society of Roman Catholics, called the Church of the Holy Trinity in the city of Philadelphia. The first medical library in the United States was established in connection with the College of Physicians in Philadelphia in April 1788. The Free African Society was founded April 12, 1788, by Absalom Jones and Richard Allen, 2 Negro clergymen of Philadelphia. The African Church, the first church in America exclusively for and controlled entirely by Negroes, was built by this society and opened for public worship July 17, 1794. It was incorporated March 28, 1796, as the minister, church wardens, and vestrymen of the African Episcopal Church of St. Thomas in the city of Philadelphia. In 1789, Lucian's Dialogues, the first Greek book printed in America, was by Joseph James at Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Stock Exchange, the first in America, originated in 1790 in a building at the southwest corner of Front and Market Streets, known as the London Coffee House. It was known as the Philadelphia Board of Brokers until the 8th of December, 1875, when it was changed to its present name, the Philadelphia Stock Exchange. The first law school in America was opened by the University of Pennsylvania, December 15, 1790, President Washington and the members of his cabinet taking part in the exercises. Turkish and Axminster carpets were first made in this country in 1791 by William Peter Sprague in the Northern Liberties. First Bank of the United States was established in Philadelphia, February 25, 1791. The first patents for machines for threshing grain in the world were awarded to Samuel Mulligan of Philadelphia, March 11, 1791. In 1791, Charles Wilson Peale established a drawing school, which was succeeded in 1794 by the Columbianum, also established by Charles Wilson Peale. This was the first society in the United States for the promotion of the fine arts. The first canal in the United States was the Schuylkill and Susquehanna Navigation Company, chartered here in 1791. There were 2,000 shares of stock at $200 per share, and the officers were Robert Morris, president, Timothy Matlack, secretary, and Tench Francis, treasurer. The first United States Mint was built in Philadelphia on what is now 37 and 39 North 7th Street. The cornerstone was laid July 31st, 1792, and the first coins, consisting of dimes, half-dimes, and cents, were struck in October of the same year. David Rittenhouse, a Philadelphian, was the first director. The first company organized in America to do a marine insurance business was the Insurance Company of North America, organized March 1792, though it did not receive a charter until April 14, 1794. In spite of the fact that the granting of the charter was delayed, the company commenced doing business immediately after its organization in 1792, and there is recorded the payment of the first loss, June 10, 1793, and the first dividend on its stock was paid January 1794. The Philadelphia and Lancaster Turnpike Company, the first constructed in the United States. The organization of the company was effected in 1792 under authority granted by the legislature. The road was completed in May 1796. The first regular stage left Lancaster at 5 o'clock in the evening and reached Philadelphia at 5 o'clock the next morning, bringing 10 passengers. The original officers of the company were William Bingham, president, William Moore Smith, secretary, and Tench Francis, treasurer. The first successful balloon ascension in America was made from the old jail yard at the southeast corner of 6th and Walnut Streets, January 9, 1793, by the French aeronaut J.P. Blanchard. Sulfuric acid, oil of vitriol, was first made in America by John Harrison in 1793. He was also the first to attempt to produce nitric acid. The Female Society for the Relief of the Distressed was the first society organized in this country for the temporary assistance of the distressed. It was formed in November 1793, and the first meeting was held in the house of Isaac Parrish at the southeast corner of 2nd Street and Pewter Platter Alley. Ice cream was first made in this country by Peter Bossu, a Frenchman, who settled in Philadelphia in 1794. The first advertisement of ice cream appears in the Aurora for July 22, 1800. The first printing press made in America was constructed by Adam Ramage in 1795. The United States Gazetteer, the first in this country, was compiled by Joseph Scott and printed by Bailey at 116 Market Street, Philadelphia, in the year 1795. The first American edition of Shakespeare's complete works was issued in Philadelphia in 1795 by Bjorn and Madden. To Ambrose and Company, Mulberry Street, now Arch Street, between 8th and 9th, belongs the honor of being the first in America to manufacture inflammable gas and exhibit the effect of gaslight. This exhibition took place in August 1796 in connection with a pyrotechnic display. Philadelphia introduced the first municipal waterworks in America using a steam pump. Ground was broken March 12, 1799. The first brick was laid May 2, 1799. The first pipe, which was of wood, was put in place June 18, 1799, and the same day was begun the foundation of the engine house in Center Square. The first water was sent through the pipes January 27, 1801. The first person to make artificial mineral water, or soda water, in America was John Hart, a Philadelphia druggist. He did this about the beginning of the 19th century, exact date not known, at the suggestion of Dr. Physic, to imitate water found in natural mineral springs. The first United States Navy Yard was established in Philadelphia in 1800. It occupied about 12 acres and extended from Prime Street, now Washington Avenue, to Wharton Street, and from Front Street to the Delaware River. In 1875, it was moved to League Island and the old property sold. The first frigate of the United States Navy, the Philadelphia, was built in 1800 by Joshua Humphreys near Washington Avenue. The first mercurials made in the United States were produced in 1801 by Dr. Adam Sabert, a druggist, whose shop was at 168 North 2nd Street. The oxyhydrogen blowpipe was invented in 1801 by Professor Robert Hare of Philadelphia. Charles Inu Johnson, in 1804, produced the first printing ink made in America. His firm is still in business and is known as Charles Inu Johnson and Company. The first land steam carriage, or automobile, in the world was invented by Oliver Evans in 1804. The eructor amphibolus, a machine for cleaning docks, mounted on a wagon, was propelled along Market Street from Center Square to the Schuylkill River. At the river, a stern wheel was attached and the vessel launched. The machine was navigated by steam on the Schuylkill and Delaware rivers and was used to deepen the docks. In 1804, Samuel Wetherill and his son, Samuel Jr., erected a white lead manufactory at the northwest corner of Broad and Chestnut Streets, and it was here that the first white lead in this country was produced. English manufacturers were so opposed to this industry being established in the United States that they sent an emissary to this country who destroyed the works by fire. They were rebuilt in 1808 at 12th and Cherry Streets, and in 1847 moved to West Philadelphia on the banks of the Schuylkill, where the business is still carried on by the fifth succeeding generation. The first commission house in the United States for the sale of American manufactures was established in Philadelphia in 1805 by Elijah Waring. The first institution in the United States for the teaching of art was the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts. The Articles of Agreement were signed December 26, 1805, by 71 citizens. George Clymer was chosen president. The charter was granted March 28, 1806, and it was opened to the public in 1807. The first orphan society in the United States was the Roman Catholic Society of St. Joseph for educating and maintaining poor orphan children. It was organized by Reverend Leonard Neal in 1806 and received a charter the following year. The first riveted hose for fire use in the United States was made in Philadelphia in 1808. American Ornithology was the work of Alexander Wilson, a resident of Philadelphia. 8 volumes were issued, the first in September 1808. It was published in Philadelphia by Bradford and was the first book upon ornithology published in this country. The first American shot was made in Philadelphia, 2 towers being completed at practically the same time. The advertisements appear under the following dates: Bishop and Sparks, October 20th, 1808. Paul Beck, October 27th, 1808. The first Bible Society in America was instituted December 12, 1808, and was incorporated January 30th, 1810, as the Bible Society of Philadelphia. By an amendment to the charter, dated March 7, 1840, the name was changed to the Pennsylvania Bible Society, which name has been retained to the present day. The first cotton goods printed from engraved cylinders in the United States were produced near Germantown in 1809 by Thorpe, Siddall and Company from cylinders brought from England. The first experimental railroad track in the United States was constructed by Somerville, a Scotch millwright, for Thomas Leeper of Philadelphia, and laid down in the yard of the Bull's Head Tavern on 2nd Street above Callow Hill in the Northern Liberties. It was 64 feet in length. The test was made July 31, 1809, and was so successful that Leeper had a railroad constructed at his quarries on Crum Creek in Delaware County, September 1809. This was the first practical railroad built in the United States. First institution in the United States chartered to do a trust business was the Pennsylvania Company for Insurances on Lives and Granting Annuities. Application for charter made January 1810, refused by the House of Representatives, but finally granted March 10, 1812. The first chemical society in America was the Columbian Chemical Society, formed in Philadelphia in 1811. The first soup society in America was the Northern Soup Society on 4th Street above Brown, formed January 1817. The Academy of Natural Sciences was the first of its kind in the United States. It was organized January 25, 1812, by John Speakman, Jacob Gilliams, and 4 others. The society was incorporated by the Pennsylvania Legislature, March 24, 1817. The first lithograph published in the United States was a portrait of Reverend Abner Neeland by Bass Otis in 1818. John Farr, a chemist of Philadelphia, in 1818, introduced into this country the manufacture of seedless powders. He associated with him in business Abram Kunze, and as Farr and Kunze, located on Arch Street near 12th, they manufactured the first quinine in the United States. This firm, by various steps, has become a part of the Powers Waitman Rosengarten Company. First Savings Bank, the Philadelphia Saving Fund Society, commenced business on December 2, 1816, chartered February 25, 1819. The first church in the world for seamen was erected in Philadelphia about 1820 under the leadership of Reverend Robert Eastburn. It was known as the Mariners' Bethel. The Philadelphia Law Library, first in the United States, was established in 1821 under the auspices of the Society for the Promotion of Legal Knowledge and Forensic Eloquence. The Philadelphia College of Pharmacy was the first institution of its kind in the world. The organization meeting was held in Carpenter's Hall, February 23, 1821. Instruction was begun in the fall of the same year, with Charles Marshall as president of the institution. The charter was granted March 30, 1822. The first engraved cylinders for calico printing made in the United States were made in Philadelphia in 1822 by David H. Mason and Matthew W. Baldwin. In 1827, William Ellis Tucker of Philadelphia was the first in America to manufacture porcelain and chinaware. In 1831, he started the first American Queensware factory. The Pennsylvania Horticultural Society, the first of its kind in America, was organized at a meeting held in the hall of the Franklin Institute, 7th Street below Market, November 24, 1827. It was incorporated March 23, 1831. The first 1-cent newspaper in the country was The Cent, published in 1830 by Dr. Christopher Columbus Conwell at 2nd and Dock Streets, Philadelphia. The first building and loan association in the United States was the Oxford Provident and Building Association, organized in Frankfort in 1831. The officers were Isaac Whitelock, president, Isaac Shallcross, secretary, and Samuel Pilling, treasurer. In 1832, George D. Rosengarten made the first morphine in the United States. The first public high school in the United States was established in Philadelphia in 1836. The first building was erected in 1837-38 on Juniper Street, fronting on Penn Square, now occupied by the Wanamaker store. The school was opened October 26, 1838, when a class of 63 pupils was admitted. The first daguerreotype portrait in America was made in Philadelphia by Robert Cornelius, November 1839 at 710 Chestnut, portrait of himself. The first homeopathic medical college in the world, the North American College of Homeopathic Medicine, was organized in Allentown, PA, in 1835. The second was the Homeopathic Medical College of Philadelphia, organized in 1848. The next in order was the Washington Medical College of Philadelphia, chartered May 2, 1853. This last-named institution changed its name, July 17, 1867, to the Hahnemann Medical College of Philadelphia. The first of these institutions lasted a very short time, and by act of legislature, dated April 2, 1869, the second and third were united under the title of the Hahnemann Medical College of Pennsylvania. This institution can thus claim to be the oldest of its kind in the world, and though not technically the first, it is practically so. The first American grand opera, Leonora, was composed by William H. Fry, a Philadelphian. The words were written by his brother, Joseph R. Fry. It was produced at the Chestnut Street Theater, June 4, 1845, by Pratt and Wemyss. The first free college for orphan boys in the United States was established in Philadelphia under the will of Stephen Girard. Girard College was opened January 1, 1848, with a class of 100 boys. The first comic weekly in America was The John Donkey, edited by Thomas Dunn English and G.G. Foster, illustrated by F.O.C. Darley and Henry L. Stevens, published in Philadelphia by G.B. Zeber and Company, 1848. The Women's Medical College of Pennsylvania is the oldest college in the world organized to train women in the medical profession. It was incorporated March 11, 1850. The Spring Garden Institute, the first of the mechanics institutes in the United States, was chartered April 12, 1851. The cornerstone of the building was laid July 8, 1851, and the building was dedicated November 12, 1852. The first English translation of the Hebrew Bible published in America was the result of 18 years' work of Reverend Isaac Leeser. It was published in Philadelphia in 1854. The first Republican National Convention met in Musical Fund Hall, June 18, 1856, with Henry S. Lane of Indiana as chairman. John C. Fremont was nominated for President of the United States, and William L. Dayton of New Jersey for Vice President. The process of sugar-coating pills was begun in 1856 by William R. Warner and Company, manufacturing chemists of Philadelphia. This was done in a pan suspended by a chain over a charcoal fire. The original pan is still preserved by the firm. The first society in America distinctively devoted to numismatic research was the Numismatic Society, organized in Philadelphia, December 27, 1857, by 7 men. It received its charter February 19, 1858. On March 23, 1865, the name was changed to the Numismatic and Antiquarian Society. The Zoological Society was incorporated in 1859, and in Fairmount Park, north of the Spring Garden Waterworks, began the first zoological garden in the United States. They later moved across the river to their present site, and the new buildings and grounds were opened to the public July 1, 1874. April 8, 1861, John Wanamaker opened a men's clothing store at 6th and Market Streets. 15 years later, 1876, having been removed to 13th and Market Streets, it had 6 departments for the outfitting of men and boys. On March 12, 1877, it was resolved into a general store having 16 departments covering all classes of dried goods. This is believed to have been the first department store in the United States, probably in the world. This same store, in 1865, made the first announcements of the one-price system, and that anything sold could be brought back for a refund of money. The Wanamaker's store at 13th and Market Streets was lighted by electricity on the night after Christmas, 1878, being the first store ever so lighted. First bank chartered under the National Banking Act, the First National Bank of Philadelphia, June 20, 1863. The first national currency was issued by this bank. The first stock exchange clearinghouse in the United States was established here in August 1870. The first organization in the world for the insurance of real estate titles was the Real Estate Title Insurance Company of Philadelphia, chartered March 28, 1876. By an amendment to the charter under date of December 3, 1881, the title was changed to the Real Estate Title Insurance and Trust Company of Philadelphia. The first international fair held in this country was the Centennial Exhibition held in Philadelphia, May 10 to November 10, 1876. It is the only fair of its kind that has paid its own expenses and received no appropriation from Congress. Philadelphia is known as the City of the Easter Lily. It was brought from Bermuda in 1879 by Mrs. Mary Rogers, who propagated it until in 3 years there were 100 specimens. Then William K. Harris, a florist, 56th Street and Springfield Avenue, introduced it in both Philadelphia and New York. The Philadelphia Bourse, the first and as yet the only one in the United States, was chartered June 25, 1891, and completed and opened for business October 1, 1895. The Wistar Institute of Anatomy, founded in 1892 by General Isaac Wistar and connected with the University of Pennsylvania, is the first anatomical and neurological institute established in the United States. Philadelphia was the first city to inaugurate a service by pneumatic tubes for the general carriage of first-class mail. A 6-inch tube connecting the Bourse station with the central post office at 9th Street was put in service February 17, 1893, and is still in operation. 8-inch tubes have been used in lines since installed and have a capacity of 7,200,000 letters per day each way. The first concrete arch highway bridge in the United States was built in 1893 by the city of Philadelphia at Pine Road over the Pennypack Creek. The first institution established in the United States for the advancement of business and trade in all branches, both domestic and foreign, was the Commercial Museum. It was projected by Dr. William P. Wilson and established by ordinance of Philadelphia City Council, approved June 15, 1894. The first successful electric automobile was designed and built by two Philadelphians, Henry G. Morris and Pedro G. Salome. It was patented August 31, 1894. The first hospital train sent out during the Spanish War for the relief of the fever-stricken soldiers in the mobilization camps was sent by the University of Pennsylvania, and the soldiers were brought to and treated in the hospital of that institution. This train left Philadelphia August 17, 1898. The first automatic restaurant, Automat, in America, was opened June 9, 1902, at 818 Chestnut Street, Philadelphia, by the Horn and Hardart Baking Company. End of Section 1.